that family tree. So it's not something that I could recover from my backups, even though I have backups. I don't know what happened to the SQL tables, whether they got corrupted or something, or this data was backing up elsewhere and not in an SQL table, because I have an SQL backup of my family website that I downloaded before I left the host. Bluehost, who was the hosting company. So to cut a long story short, what I did is I looked at the options out there and I found two of them which are very good. So one of them is an app which you can download. It's called Mihu. As you can see here, it's called Mihu Lite. And I started with myself, so I built by putting in my details, and then that's how it starts. So it starts with yourself. You put in your details. I put in my details. I added my wife's details. Then I added our children. Then I built in from that to my parents. So I mean, something that happened. So quite naturally, I went to my parents, and then from my parents, I added my siblings, and as you can see, some of them I have their pictures, some I don't. I added some of the children, others I don't. This was then. And then I went back from my father, I added his parents. And I went back from my mother, I added her parents. And then, I've been asking people to send me details. So this, somehow, one disadvantage with this tool, Mihu, is that it saves locally. So if you say backup, what you see here is that it saves to this tablet, for example, that I'm using. It saves it to a drive, or the roots is storage emulated 0 Mihu Lite backups. That's where it stores it. You cannot export. If I want to export it, if I want to share, which would be one of the really great things to do, I usually should be able to share. But what I can then do is, if I say I invite friends, then I basically invite friends. You send a text. It doesn't send anything if I say invite friends. This is the message it writes. Hi, I'm using Mihu Lite to create my family tree. I recommend you do the same. It doesn't share. It doesn't share my family tree the way I wanted it. So I thought it doesn't look very intuitive, because I wanted to share. I wanted to be able to share, and when you share, you can share a picture, or you share as a PDF. So it is fairly limited. But what I wanted is something that people can collaborate. The rest of my family can collaborate to create and add, content. And so it was limited. I couldn't quite get to add and expand details. But I mean, it was a fairly good thing, because once you are there, if I wanted to add and look at my grandfather, for example, I added, so he has two wives. He has the Brandich, who is related to me because that's my dad's mother. And then my grandfather had another wife. He had a wife called Utaga, who had these children. The children that she had, 4 boys and 2 girls, 4 or 5 boys and 2 girls. And my grandmother, you can see that this is almost the end of the so my grandfather had the Brandich, who is my grandmother, and she had 9 children. So all those children. The beautiful thing is, I could, if I clicked my grandfather, I could add a mother, and his mother is called the Baba Banja. That's nobody knows the date. Just fictitiously say she was born in 90. No, she's not alive, and nobody knows when she died, and she died somewhere in 90. Nobody knows the age. So if I save, now you see all of a sudden my grandfather Kibrut has a mother called Tabule. And if I click on her, Tabule, if I click on her twice, I can add a husband. So if I add a husband, the husband was Kitur. That was my grandfather's father. Was born nobody knows when. He died in 90. Nobody knows when. So, okay, like that. And just like that, so my grandfather has my grandfather, and you can see he appears twice, Kibrut on the left with Tabrandi as a wife, and Kibrut on the right as Potawi. He has two parents. He has a mother and a father. The father was called Kitur. And you know, I could go back and keep going. So Kitur, for example, had other children. So I could add, had siblings. So he had, could add a brother. He had Talja, J-Boy, Male. He's not alive anymore. He died. He was born in 90. He died. Like that. And then suddenly, Ragnen has a brother here called Talibja. Talibja had another brother called, let's say he had a sister. His sister was Tiare. I'll just give her a name. Jeez. She was born in 90. She's not alive anymore. She died. And voila. He has a sister. So you can see Ragnen had a brother called Talib Chaji Boy, and he had a sister called Tamatiane. Then he had another brother, Jason. I just call him Jason. Nobody has these photos, my friends. I mean, we have to be honest. These are fairly old people. Died in 90. Okay, and my grandfather had another sibling, a sister. He had a sister called Tabrandich Masu, Jebesoka Masu. And she was born in 90. She died in 90. I will have to ask Matthias because I don't know. So let me see. And he had another brother. He had another brother called me. Yeah? He had another brother called Yankee. Jason. And the man died before he married. And he died in 90. Well, so that's what I was saying. So Kitur, who is my father's grandfather, married, and he had children. He had Kiputrangay was the last born. He had Tali Jaji Boy, who was the first born. He had Tamutiale, who was second born. He had Rakitu. You can see his name is Kitu. He had Rakitu. And then he had a daughter who was the bandage. He was a Pamaso. And I think there is another brother, somebody called Kwambaptala. I must look for that. So this is how you build it. You start a family tree by putting in your details, and then you build backwards, and you can go as far as. So I could go, for example, to my father's grandfather was my father's mother, my grandfather's grandparents. I could go back, to get it and add. And basically, you have these functionalities that you can add a father, you can add a child, you can add a mother, you can add a brother, you can edit, you can add a wife, you can add a sister, you can remove somebody. So that's how you do it with this app, and it's actually as simple as that. So it served a purpose at that time. When I thought this, look, I could basically build my family starting with myself, and you almost don't see where I am. So I started with myself here. Started with myself here with my wife. Yeah, started with myself, my wife, my children. Then I went back to my mother and my father. Went to my siblings. I haven't complicated this one here. Then I went to my parents, and you can see now I'm following my father to his father, and then to his grandfather. And I think today I'm able to go back to my grandfather's grandfather, actually. And if I went there, I would get his. So he took Jason, this old man here, had his mother was married to a man who had 2 other wives. So there were 3 wives, 3 women in that marriage. And I can basically follow that. So one of the wives is one of the wives had 2 children. One of the children is Ramatelo Kormai. There is somebody called him. One of the children. He ran away to Tanzania those days. And the son now lives somewhere around Kamagut. It's called Aramoi. The son. So my grandfather, his father, had 3 half brothers. The other one is somebody called Jason Arapsan, who lives near Jemuswa. So I could keep going back and back and back until I get to Jemumoy, right? Until I get to Jemumoy. And I will see the Martha somewhere along the way. This is the old man who is Jemuswa. That's his family, Martha. Because his father was called Aramata. Just want to, you can download Mihu Lite, make a very simple family tree. You can export it as a PDF, like I made it and I shared it with my children as a PDF, and then they could basically they could basically save it for themselves, and this is how it will look like for them. So that's really generated using Mihu Lite, as you can see at the bottom, and they can easily follow themselves. So my son and his 2 siblings can follow themselves. Okay, this is Papa, these are my grandparents, and these are Papa's grandparents, and these are Papa's great grandparents, and I can add another to at the top of that to be able to do. And this one I can save or share. This is what I do, for example, with the rest of the family. Like I said, the limitation with this family tree tool is that it saves locally. When I look at where to back up, it just backs up to this tablet, like that. And if I say now save, you see the number is increased suddenly to 68. It was 61 before, now it's 68 because I've added some as I was trying to demonstrate, which is super good. Simple. It's not very complicated. You cannot collaborate. That's the limitation. And I don't like the fact that I cannot collaborate because I don't want to be able to write things for everybody. I want everybody to be able to write their own things. So that's one. And the other, so this one you can download. Sorry. This one you can download from App Store. You can go to Google Store and just download it. It's called Mihu with a question mark light, and you can start with yourself. You don't need to pay. You don't need to create an account. It saves it. You can use your phone. You can use your computer, and you can also add. When you click edit, you can add the details of the people. You can add the pictures, and then you see the connections and how the albums are linking up all the way. So this is one. Like I said, I don't like this because it is simple, yes. I don't need to struggle with it. It's just you get what you put in. The other one, which I really would like to do, is where I would be the administrator, but then everybody has somebody within their family who can sort of input the details. And so I found one super good tool. It's called Wikitree. As you can see at the top there, it's called wikitree.com. The functionality with this one is super good because I could do several things, and I'll just show you an example because I have done my family tree there. I'll just show you the rendition. So you have the family tree, which is what you see here, and then you don't need the genealogy research, but if you do, you can go. It's more advanced. You can add DNA details. You can track surname, etc., etc. I think I like this one, where you do the wiki tools, and then you can go down to family widget. This one, family free widgets. And if I click on that, see the first one that I get here. It will show me, and then it's like a tree. So it shows me, and it shows my mother, and it shows my dad, and it shows each one of them's parents on either side. And that's what you see basically. You see the tree and the branches are growing. I can change that to this. These are options which are available under the family tree widget styles. So once you get there, you will see these options. They are all available, and you see it's the same way of rendering it. So this was the tree, the first one, 3-generation tree. If you go to 3-generation tech, you see something like that. Yeah. And you see the women are colored in orange, the men in green. If I don't know what the green is, maybe I entered something to say it is confirmed. I think that is where what it means. If it is confirmed, it is green. If it is not yet, if you don't click confirmed, it doesn't show. So this is one of the beautiful ways I can show my children how I'm related to people. And I can also go to a 4-generation. I don't know whether it will show anything. So if I go to 4-generation pedigree, it will show something like this. And you can see generation will be me. And then there is my mother and father. Then there is my grandfather from my grandparents from my father's side. And then from my mother's side. The sort of correlations. I don't know what other options are available, by the way. So, if I go down, and this is something you can embed. If you copy this code, you can embed in your website if you want. Of course, there are certain privacy things that are written there. You can see here, for example, that my mother, her privacy is entered as private, so it's not something which is revealed. It's only revealed when I do 3 generations, for example. The beautiful thing with this is, if anybody searches this information, they will only see your name. They will not see any correlations unless they have permission to do it. So it's really super protected. So what does it do? I'll just take you through it quickly. What it does is, I created an account. So if I go to Family Tools, and then I click on the tab, which is on Family Tree. And what you see is I started with myself again. So starting with myself, and then I put in my father and my mother, and obviously I don't have my father's photo. I'm not even sure that he had one. It's likely that it was only the ID. And then I have my siblings on the side, and it shows my relationships to my spouse and the children, sort of things. And I could basically click on one child, and then it will show their tree and relationship. Maybe it will not, but that's how it would. And you can see it names people. So Jason 2 is my son Felix, because I gave it as his surname. So if I went back to the family tree, and then I could do the same. So if you follow the top, it's me and then my father, so Joseph Sarabhu. And then there is Kibrul Tarabni, which is my grandfather, and then there is my great grandfather was Kitu. So remember the story I put there, Kitu. Jason. Nobody knows what Nathan is. All we know is he was made up. He died, but I don't know. I have to find out. It's very scanty details. So he was born in a place called and you see, this is what I was posting the other day, and people got worked up because if you type Nandi, you see lots of Nandi popping up, and I don't want to complicate it. I just put Nandi there, and he died as well in Nandi. And if I say save, it will ask me the date. So it's a very strict tool. My grandfather was alive when Koitali was killed. So I would say my grandfather died before 1905. No, he was born. Let's put it in 1850. I mean, not 1906. And he died, I would say he was born around about 1850, and he died before 1905, because that's when my grandfather ran away from Kindred to around to his uncle's place. So again, if I say save, it will ask me something. It will say unsourced family. So I need to provide a source. This is why this tool is very good. It's called the Wikitree, wikitree.com. It's really very good. And I have to say that this information is a sourced family tree which was handed down to me, Serone. So JSON 1 is me, and it's Serone JSON. That's what it says. So if I say save, it will say 1 and check the data. The father's death in 1905 should not be more than 9 months before one of his children's birthdays. And then, yes, now this is where the discrepancy was, because I entered, if I went back to my grandfather, so I need to go back to my grandfather, because I wrote that my grandfather was born in 1910, which is not true, so I need to edit, because he was young when Koitaleva was killed. So I would say my grandfather was born before 1900. Yeah, okay. That should be good. And then I'm saying here I am fixing some typos. Save. Okay. Changes. Would you like to share what you want with your friends or family? Share with manage, participate. No, I don't want to share with anybody. So what I want to do now is I have his father, right? So maybe I can go back to, because that's JSON number 11. That's my great grandfather. So if you go back again, go back to JSON, which is me. I have to say no. I have to say no. Okay, so here you are. You can see where I go now. So from me, it goes to my father, to his father, to his father, so my grandfather's grandfather, Gitur was married to a woman called just keep the name because that's what it will otherwise disturb me about. And I will just say estimated 1855. Estimated 1855. I just approximate. And she died. She died around about 1910. Okay. Let me see. If I say, here you see, is Kibrubut's father, Kitur, husband of Kibrubut's mother, you need to always tell this. If it is the mother, then you say yes. If not, then you have to clarify. If I say save, it will ask me for the source. So save, it says there, a source is required, and you see it is highlighted in red, so it says unsourced family tree at the top. JSON me, that's JSON 1, it's myself, so I'll say yes. That's a source because I picked this information from family. Very good. So that is Tablule, and you can see that Tablule JSON formally Banja, so that's how it is recorded there. Now what I can do is I can add my children. I can add children. I will just leave the Banja outside of the phone. But is my grandfather. Is my grandfather. So if I add another child, that's the child of the Blu-ray. It's not anybody's child. So what I will do is I'll just add here. Was the child. Go here. Was born about 18. I don't know for sure. I need to ask. And he died after. He died very late. and he is the son of Kitu, so that is the father, and he's the child of Taplule. That's my great grandfather now. So I will do personal and unsourced family. That's the source of information. Check child's date birth should not be before 6 years old. Was born. Child's birthday, okay. Then I should have changed that to 1880. Right. 1880. Yes, okay. Profile saved successfully. So now I have two people. I have a brother of mine. I can add his sister. That's my grandfather. I can add his brother. I'll just put things that I don't know. Child number. She's older than my grandfather. I just put the estimate and then after it. Okay, these things are hard, and if you don't save them now, this is what I'm trying to tell everybody. If we don't create these family trees now, our children will struggle to recollect things. So I think I'll just stop there. The rest of it I'll create while you guys are not seeing it. So if I go back to my family tree, that's what you see. So there is me and then my mother and my father on the left, and then my father's family on the left. His grandmother, rather my grandmother, the Bradish, is there. And then if you see on the immediate left of my grandfather, you see an arrow, this small green squiggly arrow there. It's showing that there is a family for him, and you can see that's his list of the family. So he's Ramenge, his father was Kitu. So I'm going to populate the paternal grandfather and everybody else, and then the Blu-ray. What a shame that they actually showed the sort of, this looks like a white woman. It's a very stupid sort. Anyway, and my grandfather was a husband of two wives. He was a husband of Takavantic and Otawi, and he had these children. There were 16 in total. Carlos is my father. So there you are. I will basically do that. I don't know if I go to Wiki tools and I go to family wickets. If I say I want 4 generations to if I say I want 3 generations, it will still show me. Okay, very good. Very good. Now you can see here, it is showing me my grandfather. So my grandfather, his mother was Tabule, Jivagapenja. See his father, Kitu Jason. And then I'm going to put the two parents that he had and the stepbrothers that he had. And on the right side, I can get Kabajai still there. I can get that. That's when I choose my grandfather. It's the center, and if you go here, you will see it is showing Ngentu is actually the person you can see, and this part here, it is Ngentu. So there is another Ngen, and then there is this Ngen. That's what it is showing. If I wanted to change that and go to Ultraman, then I can choose my father, Taurus, and then I can go to family tree and tools, and you can see it is showing Rugut there, right? So if you see at the top, it is showing Rugut, and I can basically switch from that to family wickets. Family wickets. Family wicket is here, and I can go to tools, and I can go to 3 generation. It will show. So you see now, Joseph Taurus Rabu, that's my father. His mother is Tabrandit on the right. His father is Kibrugut Rabu on the left. And if you follow that deal, you see P2 Rajizo, and then you see Tabu Ravanja. Tabrandit, I have to put her people there. So that's how basically it looks like. And I think the reason I like this is because I can keep, for example, so if I go to my grandma, I go to my grandmother, because I've added a bit of the details on her children, so I could go down to check her children. Okay, I haven't added here, but I have added. So if I went back to Lugutaramine, I can show you an example. Lugutaramine had 2 wives. He had the Brandage and Butawi. And if I just leave that, I can go to today. I haven't added his children. I can go to Nyongi. I haven't added his children. I can go to Kemarta, because I've added Kemarta's children, which is very good. Not sure that it will show me the details from Kemarta, because it's protected. So let me see, just in case. The one beautiful thing that happens is, and you can see that I created the profile myself. It's telling me I cannot even see the family wiki for, even though one of the things I edit out name, his name, and make it JSON so that it's visible. The other thing is, which is actually very beautiful about this, is I have his children. So if you go to Marta, for example, you can see Marta on the left. He's the brother of all these guys. He's the husband of Jennifer. And then he has these children, Jero, Nisire, Delmos, Amos, Stephen, Henry, and Kikru. Kikru is the one who gave me the details. So Kikru Josephat gave me the details. So what I would do is, I'm going to edit out these guys so that they will have a surname, either Jason or Mattel. Complexities. Right. So in short, you can have 2 types of family trees. You can have a very simplified one, which is made by you. The good thing with this one is you can do it on the phone, so you can run it yourself on your phone. The problem with it is it saves locally. As you can see, if you say backup, it will back it up to your computer storage emulated Mihu Light backups. Nothing else. It will not do anything. If you share, you click share, it will just share as a picture or as a PDF. You do not collaborate. That's the limitation of this. Beautiful, but very limited. The one that I like fairly complex and problematic sometimes is Wiktree. Wiktree, you have to create an account. You become a kind of an administrator, and then you can create by adding people and adding people and adding people and adding people, and then you can simulate and show the correlation of those people to one another, which I think. So that is it for now. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. I'm happy to take you through again. I mean, these are not like the optimal tools. There might be others out there which you can use to do exactly what I have shown. So this was not supposed to be the end of the story. It's just to say, I think before our children lose track of before we lose track of the history that we have about our families, let's create family trees. And then to be an easy way for us to explain to our children relationships to other people. Because if I wanted to explain to my children today how I relate to Marta, for example, I don't need to struggle. I just get them to see this family tree and how we relate to each other, and they will know, okay, my father's or my grandfather, right? Because they can start with Kaptaros. So, okay, my grandfather had a family, and that family was, so and so, the kind of correlation that people help each other when they want to check. That you can see, okay, this is Joseph Gutierrez, this is my grandfather, his father was that, his mother was that, his grandfather was that, his grandmother was that, and yeah, this way they will be able to know, and they can go down and get this more elegant, it's a more colorful thing. I hate the fact that these small icons are actually betraying gender bias, or not gender, but some racial tinge. They should be able to detect that it's from Kenya and give me something that looks black. Damn it. Okay, guys. Thanks for now. All the best.